Hello and welcome to Health Exposure. Today we have a very interesting show. But first let me tell you a little bit about what Health Exposure is. Health Exposure is a show that explores alternative medicine, nutrition, acupuncture, and a number of other things. Today we have Deborah Arneson on the show, and you know she always brings a cornucopia of good information. See, I promised I wouldn't say plethora. Hi, Deborah.
Hi, Kurt.
How are you? You're going to talk to us about the endocrine system?
I am. The amazing endocrine system and your immunity. Or lack thereof.
And lack thereof, that's right.
Or
We're not going to tell everybody I was sick. But,
oh, no, honey, I wasn't talking about you.
Well, not me. Oh, absolutely not.
But we could.
We could. Okay, that's right. We could cover the whole endocrine system today.
Sure.
Now, what is the endocrine system?
Well, the endocrine system, Kurt, is a system in the body that's extraordinarily responsible for the well-being and the preservation of your health. And it consists of a number of glandulars, and these glandulars are what we call hormonal regulators. And the hormones that they make, you know, and they also make these hormones because we either have present the correct amount of nutrients from different foods to make the hormones. The hormones that they make regulate the entire body, the whole central nervous system. They play and have great effect on mood, energy, depression, or lack thereof. You know, the body's ability to create muscle and burn fat and things like that. So it's an extremely complex system. They're all very much involved with one another. They're like, I kind of refer to them as all the glandulars as a bunch of little hens in a hen house.
I knew you'd have something. I was afraid we were going to get by. We weren't going to have something that little hens in a hen house, okay?
Yes, and they're all very much aware of what the other little hen is doing, you know, the other glandular. I mean, if one glandular system isn't able to get enough of the nourishment that it needs to create the hormones that it needs, then the other glandulars try to make up for what that gland is incapable of doing. They may not reflect and make the same hormone, but they will make another comparable hormone or somewhat comparable hormone to help support the system, which puts more burden on that system as well. So
one glandular works hand in hand with the other? It's a...
Yes, there's a domino effect.
Oh, I see.
Right.
I see. Because I guess I was going to segue into what do glandulars do, but I guess that's basically what they do. They work hand
in hand, but they do so many things. They just assist the body in creating a really healthy, strong immune system. If the glandulars are working well, then you can withstand stress and bugs and viruses and bacteria far better than somebody who cannot.
Oh, I see.
If you have one, like a weak link in the whole glandular system, then you in fact have a problem. So you're as strong as your weakest link. And that's absolutely true, because let's say, for instance, we have the entire system and we have one gland like your adrenal glands, which are perched on top of the kidneys, and the kidneys are a detoxification pathway. The kidneys and our liver and, of course, our skin. But out of those three detoxification systems, the kidneys are very susceptible to be antagonized. They become antagonized by things like coffee, sodas with caffeine in them, chemicals found in diet sodas, medications and drugs, you know, lots of water-soluble medicines, prescription drugs, things like that. So the kidneys are taxed, and because...
Please tell me it's not so. Coffee, drinks, I mean, what's left?
Good things.
Good things,
herbal
okay.
teas and certainly waters and things like that are kinder to the kidneys. I mean, you know, you can get by with being antagonistic with caffeine or something as long as you flush it with water, and purified water, I may add. I mean, fluoridated water, I'm sorry, is not good for you, especially for people who are compromised immunologically anyway. They should really avoid, you know, fluorine sources. That's taxing to the adrenal glands, which are the little snow caps right on top of the kidneys. So if you're really taxing, you know, your adrenals, then all the other glands have to kind of try to make up for what the adrenals are not capable of doing. And the adrenal glands are the backbone to the immune system, and we'll get into that more in a bit.
Okay. Now, how many glands compose the endocrine system?
Well, there are 6. Let me just show you what they are here. We're going to do a real nice close-up. I hope the camera can get this. Let me show you here. We've got the...
oh, you knew this question was coming.
I do. I have my little chart, and we want to make sure this is focused straight. Okay, good. We have, first of all, as I always say, the adrenals are the most important, and that would be these glands over here. They look like baby walnuts, and these are the ones, again, who are the backbone to the immune system. So for 2 tiny glands, they're extremely responsible. And then we have the thyroid. The thyroid is what we call the king crown gland, and this is at the base of the neck right here, right where you have your little jugular. And in fact, you'll notice that some people end up with goiters. I'm seeing a lot of people in the last couple of years with goiters, or what we call Graves' disease,
yes,
which is a hyperactive thyroid. And a hyperactive thyroid, or underactive thyroid to begin with, equals a problem with the thyroid gland functioning well. And behind the king crown gland here, the thyroid gland, we also have the parathyroid. It's a baby butterfly gland that's positioned behind here, so you can't see it very clearly. And the parathyroid promotes the production of thyroxine, or thyroid-stimulating hormone, which helps this big gland work well. And this is the guy that helps you to burn fat and create energy, and metabolism is most closely correlated with this gland. Then we have over here the pituitary and the hypothalamus. And the pituitary and the hypothalamus are at the base of the brain, and these are the two glands that regulate depression. And this one here, the pituitary, regulates luteinizing hormone for mothers, for women who are trying to lactate. You know, it's a hormone that we must have once we've had a baby. And sometimes the milk dries up a little bit early, and that would be an indicator that the pituitary isn't getting what it needs. And then we have also over here the pancreas, which is very important. The pancreas is the gland, can you see that? The pancreas is the gland that helps the body to regulate insulin. And insulin is a hormone, again, that
the pancreas is located
right underneath the stomach.
Okay.
It's tucked right underneath there. So as soon as food comes into the gut, there is a signal that relays to the pancreas that, yoo-hoo, there's food here. We're creating some energy from this food. The food is broken down into what we call glucose and then into glycogen for future storage for up to 12 hours. And then the insulin comes out to grab the excess glucose and bring it back down into the muscles, or to get rid of it and store it as fat. So this regulates fat in one sense, and more Americans are having more and more problems with the pancreas, and we'll also get into that a little bit, because they eat too many carbohydrates.
Well, that's interesting.
Too much coffee, too much sugar, too many carbohydrates, too much pasta, too many bagels. And then, of course, we have the ovaries and the testes, okay? And again, we're seeing more and more people who are having trouble conceiving. You know, men's sperm count is down, and women may show up with all kinds of, you know, testing for fertility, and in fact, nothing seems to be actually non-functioning, but they're having trouble with conception. And a lot of that has to do with the follicles in the ovary. The follicles need to be nourished as well, and these follicles, this is actually where the egg is produced. So if you don't have, you have a healthy ovary but unfunctioning or low functioning follicles, you're in trouble. And then of course we have the kidneys, and the kidneys again are a major filtrator in the body, so these are an area that we detox. So you have to make sure that you're really, really good to this system, because as you can see, these are really important, guys.
Really? That's incredible. I mean, a lot of work, and yet it seems it's working as a team. Now, you mentioned earlier about the thyroid being a fat burner, but you also said that the pancreas is a fat burner.
It helps to regulate, right?
It helps to regulate.
Insulin.
Okay. Does one burn more than other? I mean, if you have a good pancreas but a bad thyroid, will you still be able to burn fat?
Well, that's a good question. Honestly, Kurt, I'm going to keep this up here because I think it's helpful for people to see this. But the adrenal glands are really the key to all of the glandulars working well, with the exception of the pancreas. The adrenal glands are the guys that push out over 300 plus hormones, steroids, and corticoid steroids on a daily basis. And these glands, once they trigger those steroids, and they produce and create these steroids and hormones from minerals and from glucose. Minerals come from, of course, hopefully, our well-endowed soil. I'm being facetious.
Yes.
Our soils are pretty depleted of minerals. And then also from glucose, which is what you convert your food into once you eat your food. So again, if you have plenty of glucose, are you okay, honey?
Yes.
That's okay. If you have plenty of glucose, you'll find that, you know, the adrenals are okay, so to speak. If you have too much, then you really trigger a response to where they're constantly being, you know, stimulated, and they're producing too much of specific hormones. These two glands here, Kurt, these adrenals, they trigger, once they start producing their hormones, the 300 plus a day, they stimulate thyroid function.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. Thyroid function, again, is a direct correlation to well-functioning adrenals. If the adrenals aren't producing what they need to produce, then the thyroid becomes suppressed, and it's not capable of creating energy, because these glands over here aren't producing enough energy because you're not even eating the right energy from the right sources. So the thyroid gland becomes suppressed, and then the parathyroid gland might become suppressed as well. And then you see people who have fatigue. And if you're tired, we know you're not going to exercise, right?
That's a good point.
Yes. So That's the correlation between these, and then this gland here also, you know, these two little adrenal glands trigger pituitary and hypothalamus function as well. So it's really important that you have two adrenal glands that are really well supported. So when you talk about that, it's really important to know that you want to take away any antagonists to the adrenals. And again, we mentioned that those would be, you know, synthetic chemical-laden drinks. Alcohol, again, because it goes through the kidneys for processing, can be a problem if it's in excess. And certainly caffeine, which is an excitatory drug, and it very much excites the adrenals and makes them overtired. If you're constantly putting in caffeine, they're like, oh! It's like sticking their little fingers in a socket and just wiring them for sound. So that's the story on the adrenals.
That's incredible. What nutrients do they need?
The adrenal glands love essential fatty acids, good oils, and they absolutely love minerals and B vitamins.
What are essential oils? I get that often where I'll tell people you need essential oils in your, and I know you've done a number of shows on that, but since we're talking specifically about the adrenals, and you again mention essential oils, can you say which one and where they get them?
Sure, I'd be happy to.
Okay.
It's interesting to note, too, that our country has been essential oil or essential fatty acid deficient for years and years and years, and most of the chronic health problems that I see in my practice are very much related to essential fatty acid deficiency. And I'll give you, for example, and then I'll go into the foods that contain those oils. But for instance, I'm seeing a great deal of hypothyroid these days, you know, low-functioning thyroid glands and low-functioning adrenal glands. And as I mentioned before, the thyroid and adrenals must have those good oils. If they don't get those oils, then things begin to happen. The system begins to break down. It has a glitch in it. In fact, I've been seeing women coming in, women at, you know, in their 30s, 40s, and 50s and 60s, diagnosed with Raynaud's disease. Raynaud's disease is a disease whereby you don't get any, there's no circulation in the fingertips and the toes and the nose. It's always, their fingers are freezing, and sometimes they're so cold that they're actually blue. I mean, you can see there's no circulation in the fingertips at all. They're so blue that if you touch their finger, one lady had me, she held her finger up and I touched it and she screamed.
My goodness.
Because it's so painful not to have circulation, obviously, in a digit. So what I find is these people are missing essential fatty acids. And I had one 63-year-old woman, just an adorable little woman who'd been diagnosed with this and this and this and this. And I said, oh, you do not have that. I said, what you have is an essential fatty acid deficiency. And I had her start taking her oils every day. And in 3 weeks, she came in and she said, you know what? I am so warm. I'm as warm as toast. I cannot believe it's this simple. And what we're seeing is more and more women in America, and more people in general, Kurt, are not eating good oils and fats. They're very fat phobic because fat has gotten such bad press. And saturated fats, yes, they can be hazardous to your health because once you eat those, you're too full to eat anything else. They're very, very heavy and dense. When you eat the good unsaturated oils, what happens is you're hungry. They fuel the immune system. They kiss and hug the adrenals, you know, all day long, and the thyroid gland, and they help to increase your body temperature and create metabolism in the cells on a cellular level. So these good oils come from foods that are high in oils, of course. They would be avocados. They would be raw seeds and raw nuts, not the kind that get hydrogenated and dried and roasted
Okay,
and
that's
sugar
important
coated.
to note. Yes, okay, go on.
Raw seeds and nuts.
All right.
Good wholesome olives and cold water fish, avocado, and oils from those foods. So fish oils, walnut seed oil, safflower, sunflower oil, you know, the EPA oils, olive oil, all of them are very good. Now, most Americans tend to be eating a lot of olive oil because everyone heard, oh, Mediterranean diet is so good for me. Yes, it is. The Mediterranean diet is excellent. However, olive oil is just one type. You need 3 kinds of oils. There's omega-3, omega-6, and omega-9 fatty acids. Olive oil is just one. So you have to do a variety of cold weather and warm weather seeds and nuts, and oils from those seeds and nuts.
Oh, I see.
So walnut is a cold weather oil, walnut oil, and olive oil is a warm weather oil. And then there's fish oil, which is really cold because deep sea fish swim in cold, cold water. So the omega-3, 6, and 9 fatty acids are important for everybody. Everybody needs all of them. Some people need more of one than another. It's very hard to determine what you need more of. So I say CYA, cover your tush, and eat something like Arrowhead Mills has a great one. It's called Omega. It's Essential Balance Oil. It has all the omega-3, 6, and 9s in it. It's just a great oil. I love it. Or if you can't do that, grab safflower, grab walnut, and grab maybe pumpkin seed oil. Mix them together, and then rotate to 3 other oils after you finish off those 3. So,
one thing that we were talking about at one time, I don't know if it were here or in your practice or just where I picked it up, but I'd just like to clarify. Many people will come in, and especially in my practice, and they'll ask questions such as, you know, Kurt, I'm under a lot of stress. Am I creating a problem with my adrenals? And a lot of times with people under extreme stress, I do see adrenal exacerbation. Is that factual, or is that just...
oh, sure.
Oh, it is, okay.
The adrenal glands are what we call the stress glands. And the
I see.
adrenal glands, it's important to know when you have a lot of stress in your life, and most of us do. Life is no longer simple. We don't go home at 5 o'clock and turn on Leave It to Beaver anymore. You know,
It doesn't come on?
No, he's been out the air for a while. And sit down and have a nice quiet meal that mom's prepared all day in the house. You know, it just doesn't happen. We all have, you know, double lives that we lead. So there's really very little time to relax. So the stress factor in America is so high for everyone. And it's really important to do, you know, a well-balanced diet. Let's just say that. It's like such a flipped term. But beyond a well-balanced diet, if you don't do anything else, it's really important to do your good oils. And you need to eat those raw. You should not heat these oils.
Ah, okay.
That's important to know. But the adrenal glands, if in fact you're just doing oil, that may not be all that you need. You have to do minerals as well. Remember, the adrenals make something called mineral corticoids. Those are corticoid steroids made from minerals, and they all work together. So most people are very mineral deficient. You know why? Because they're eating or drinking chemicals like coffee, which flushes like a vacuum all of your minerals out of your body. It takes manganese and magnesium and selenium and chromium and just flushes it right out of the system. So even if the minerals are there, they're like, hold on, you know, here comes the coffee. There they go. So then you're without the minerals, and what are the adrenals supposed to do? Now, how do you supplement for minerals? You know, it's important to know what minerals you need. Not everyone needs calcium. A lot of people are taking calcium in really high doses. It blocks other minerals from working.
Oh, I see.
So it's important to do, you know, like a hair tissue test, find out what minerals you need, and at least eat lots of rooty vegetables and things that grow on the ground that are preferably organic, that haven't had all the minerals raped and pillaged out of them with pesticides, insecticides, and sprays. I mean, organic is becoming increasingly important for people, even though it's unaffordable. It's very expensive. But, you know, the pesticide count in our fruits and our vegetables is astronomically high in America. It's very high.
Yes, yes.
It's very concerning.
I remember you doing a show about that, and it's just
scary.
appalling.
The
It's
statistics are scary.
It's scary. It really is.
So we need our good essential oils. Eating cold water fish is a very good idea. You know, that's excellent. Cold water fish are the fish that go deepest into the ocean.
Okay.
Because they swim deeper, they have a higher percentage of good fat on their body, and that good fat provides you with that good fat when you eat it as well. Those essential omega, you know, 6 fatty acids are very healthy.
Okay.
So you need to do good oils on a daily basis. How much should you do? Well, I do about 2 tablespoons of good oil every single day, and I'm not fat.
I see. It wouldn't help to just swim with the fish in the cold water. It'd have to be,
You'd have to eat them while you're swimming.
You'd have to eat them while you swim.
Chew on
That's
there a
very
little
good.
bit,
You always have a good comeback.
So that you need your oils. You need to do, you know, more cold water fish. Legumes are great. They have trace amounts of those good oils in them. A little bit of those essential fatty acids, not high doses. Soybean is, of course, the highest, and that would be excellent. So doing hummus dips and things like that would be excellent. And I love avocado. I eat avocado probably twice a week. I serve that to myself. And of course, you need to do your minerals and mineral supplementation. So the B vitamins are also real important for the stressed out adrenals. But a lot of people, Kurt, that you see probably have what we call a bit of a leaky gut. So they can't digest vitamins and minerals really well, especially vitamins. They can hurt their stomach. If that's the case, then they need to like start eating more live foods that will, you know, kind of re-implant good enzymes in the gut so they can break things like supplements down.
I see. I see. Thyroid, parathyroid, you mentioned.
Okay.
Different functions?
Well, they do have different functions, but they're triggered by the adrenal glands. So you really need to make sure that the adrenals are working well, or the parathyroid and the thyroid gland will be second seed. In other words, you know, I saw a man today in my practice, and he came in, and he's a very stressful job. He's, you know, a police sergeant or chief of police or something, and not in Chicago, but in one of the suburbs. And you know, his thyroid was like one of the lowest I've ever seen, and his parathyroid was like. And he wonders, he's sick all the time, and he tends to, you know, he tends to get constant ear and eye infections and things like that. And that will happen when you have a lowered thyroid and parathyroid function. You will see that you're always catching things. It's like, darn it, you know, I'm eating pretty good. Why am I always getting sick? So you look at a blood test and you see what those values reflect. And if in fact you have lowered parathyroid and thyroid, you know that A, you need essential fatty acids, B, you need minerals, and C, you need your B vitamins. You need to balance your diet.
I see. And
take those supplements if in fact they work for you. So, I mean, also if you see lowered parathyroid on your blood test, say the range is like 0.70 to 4.2, and you're, you know, right around 1.
Okay.
You're on the low end of the range, then you'll know for sure that there's probably calcium, too much calcium in the system.
Oh, really?
Calcium tends to deposit in the parathyroid.
Okay.
So interesting. And I'm seeing more and more people with really, really low parathyroid activity.
Which would be what? Parathyroid activity would be?
The fatigue.
Okay.
You know, you denote that by a blood test, but they come in generally feeling very tired, and they get sick a lot. And that's what presents.
Right. Okay.
So if you see lowered parathyroid and lowered thyroid, you always see lowered adrenal, because the adrenals trigger those two glands to be activated.
Got it.
So if you see high calcium, you have to drive that down. And just a note for our viewing audience, if there's high calcium, and I've been seeing so much of this, I'm like, where on earth are all these people getting all this calcium? Because many people do not supplement with calcium. So I've been looking at labels, and I have not looked at a table salt label in a long time, and they now put dicalcium phosphate in table salt. And now I've been looking at all kinds of packages. There's tricalcium phosphate, dicalcium phosphate, and almost everything is a stabilizer and preservative. So we're being inundated in calcium, and the body's just holding on to it.
I see.
Not good. So look at your labels.
I see. Incredible.
So much work being healthy, isn't it, sometimes?
My goodness. Well, let's change to another area
and
ask a little bit about the pancreas.
Pancreas is really important, Kurt.
Okay.
He's this like little fish-shaped gland underneath the tummy here, and
deep sea or just no? Okay.
No, he's like midsection.
Midsection. Okay.
And the pancreas is really important because the pancreas regulates insulin, and most people refer to insulin as the one hormone that will keep you from either having diabetes or it will help you to obtain diabetes. If you regulate insulin efficiently, then you will find that A, you're lean, B, you have lots of energy, and C, you don't fall asleep after lunch every day. You know, a lot of people who have insulin surges become shaky, or if their insulin drops, same thing. In the world of nutrition, what we look for is homeostasis. We want everything to be right here in the mid-range, not too high, not too low, because if you present symptomatically with a high level of insulin or a low level, you can have exactly the same reaction, meaning that you will shake and you will quake and you will get nauseous. Some people get headaches. So you have to literally sometimes eat 5 meals a day and make sure you get those good oils in there, and do protein at 3 or 4 of your meals. A little bit of protein, 2 or 3 ounces every day to regulate insulin.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just so much.
And you'll get lean. Really
and you'll
lean.
get lean, okay. Pituitary and hypothalamus.
The pituitary and hypothalamus, again, are triggered by the adrenals. They need essential oils, lots of good oils, and plenty of fluid. And a lot of women who are lactating, who dry up, tend to be really low on fluid, period, or they have too much stress. And if they go back to work too early and they find that their milk dries up, it's generally because the adrenals are really taxed. So we come back to, like, support the adrenals, you support the entire endocrine system.
I see. We have kidneys, and I have a question on ovary and testes.
Okay.
Now, you touched a little bit on kidneys. Can you go to ovary and testes?
Okay.
I know I'm going to get questions about that.
Sure. Ovary and testes, same thing. They need their essential oils, okay, for those follicles to develop. You see a lot of people with heavy metal body burdens when they don't have well-functioning testes and ovaries, so you have to make sure that the metals are not in the system, because those soft glandulars are where metals tend to deposit.
Oh, I see.
So you need to get those out. I tell people, you know what, the way you want to look at this is balance your diet and take out antagonists. If you drink 5 cups of coffee a day, please don't. Drink 1. Cut it down to 1 and make sure you never take in that chemical-laden drink on an empty stomach. Always put food in the stomach first to kind of buffer your insulin, because if you drink coffee on an empty stomach, you're shooting lots of insulin into the system. It's like opening a floodgate.
That is a phenomenal statement.
It is.
When you know that when you're headed out to work in the morning, you see many people lined up at many local coffee places with the first thing in their hand is a coffee cup.
Well, it is a drug. Caffeine is a drug. It is now listed in the DRGs. So it is a drug, and you know what? It does what it does. It stimulates adrenal activity. It kicks out epinephrine and adrenaline. It gets you wound up a little bit. It makes you hyper. Put some sugar in there, and everybody's like, okay, gotta go. Well, pretty soon, if you've eaten nothing else, you know, it'll make you feel good for an hour or so. Your insulin will drop dramatically. And when that happens, when that blood sugar deregulates and insulin crashes, so does every other gland in the endocrine system. They're all like, oh no, what are we going to do? And the adrenals will crash as well, and you become very fatigued. You need that second cup of coffee to get you cranked again. But what you're doing is you're taking yourself on a hormonal highway ride. You're up the mountain, down the down the highway,
Yes.
up the mountain, down the highway. It's like all day long you're riding a roller coaster. It's exhausting. It'll make you sick. It'll wear your endocrine system out.
What do you want us to do?
So, well, I suggest people start eating at least 3 meals a day if they eat 1 or 2.
Okay.
If you eat 3 a day, go up to 4 or 5. You know, just small meals, just segment things out. And make sure that you supplement where needed. I mean, minerals are very important. B vitamins are very important. And start getting some good oils in your diet. And don't forget water.
Oh, don't forget
You have to
water.
have water.
Either we're running out of time or our camera person is having an adrenal problem. You know, with that shakiness you were talking about.
Right.
This is so interesting. I always hate that we have to end because you always come with so much knowledge, and
Thanks, Kurt.
you take the time to make it understandable to all of us, and we certainly
Good.
appreciate it when you come over.
It's my pleasure to be here.
Well,
Thanks
good.
for having me.
Yeah, but it always boils down to a good diet.
Food can be therapeutic. You can heal yourself with foods. It's so simple, it's stupid. And, you know, I just wish to share with our viewing audience, you know, if they have questions or concerns, they can certainly, you know, give us a call. And we'd like to know if they'd like to know more about specific subjects as well. So please feel free to write in or call in and let us know what your interests are, because we care whether or not you're healthy.
And you certainly demonstrated that. Deborah, again, thank you so very, very much for
You're welcome.
coming on the show and telling us everything and in detail and in bite-sized pieces that even I can understand. Well,
You're
you got
welcome.
another show. That's a wrap for this time, and I certainly appreciate you tuning in. And do take Deborah up on her offer to call and find out more. I'm Kurt Hill, your host, and see you again. Thank you very much.